All right, today I am getting a briefing about Candle AI, an AI powered email assistant for legal teams. And I am kind of particularly looking forward to this because Candle AI was one of the top winners this year in the Startup Alley at ABA Tech Show that I oversee. And I'll tell you, one of the funny things about running Startup Alley is that often during the presentations, I'm so distracted by thinking about who's up next and what's happening on stage and all of this other stuff that I often don't get to give the attention that I wish I had to the actual presentations as they're going on. So, Carl and Sujith, really happy to have you here today. Before we get started, before we start talking about the company, why don't you each introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves? Sujith, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'm Sujit. I'm one of the co-founders here with Carl. I'm from a very technical engineering background, studied engineering for my bachelor's, came to the US for my master's, spent almost a decade working for AI for self-driving cars. Had a lot of fun there. And around 2022, decided I want to do something on my own and started this entrepreneurial startup journey. Originally from India, moved here with the dreams of starting a startup. Grew up learning about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and reading about Elon Musk and all those like inspired me to get into startups. An outsider to legal tech, but the legal tech has been very welcoming as a community for me, and I'm so glad that I'm here.
Great. Carl, how about you?
So I'm a former lawyer, and I
We'll forgive you for that.
uh, some say recovering lawyer.
Recovering lawyer.
I used to practice corporate defense, employment defense, and business immigration when I was practicing. I did that for several years. Then I transitioned to product management and tech several years ago, and I've just been in product and tech ever since then. I no longer practice law. I've worked at both large tech companies as product manager, like for instance, Intuit, and also more recently, smaller legal tech startups. So I was a director of product at a legal tech startup called LegalPad. We were one of the first to automate immigration workflows. We were acquired by Deal, global mobility company, one of the more recent examples in my legal tech foray. I connected with Sujit here not too long ago, and we both share this same vision of using AI to really do a lot of efficiency in law.
So what is the vision here? I mean, what caused you to focus in on the problem that you're tackling with Candle AI?
So before we talk about the problem, like maybe we need also tell about a little bit about the background of we as a team. So right before Candle, we were running together a company called Nava AI, and I was mainly the founder, and Carl was an advisor, where we were automating the visa document generation process for immigration. And the goal there was let's have AI automate bunch of the documentation that's needed, and we will have lawyers as the final gatekeepers just to make sure everything is good before it goes out. So we were successfully running that startup for almost a year, where we were focused on immigrant founders who wants to come to the US. So O1 visa was what we were focused on. And while we were doing that, we stumbled upon this problem, right? Like one, we had that problem where our clients would email us and they would expect a response within 24 hours. If they don't get a response within 24 hours, they get mad. And the lawyers we were working with would also have the same problem. So this is like an interesting quote that one of the immigration lawyers we were working with told us is they're essentially an email lawyer and not an immigration lawyer. Just like, the amount of time they're spending on emails is just ridiculous. And at first, as an engineer, I couldn't believe that could be true because email has been around for more than 20, 30 years. And there has been a lot of startups that try to solve this problem, like Superhuman and like even like that's the most common. But then there are other startups that have done that. But then we realized those solutions out there doesn't work for the legal industry. Law firms are still 90% using Outlook. They don't want to switch to Superhuman or some other systems. And so we had to build something that would work within the workflow of a law firm while bringing all those intelligence that AI is promised into their inboxes. So I'll stop there, Carl, if you want to add something more.
No, I mean, I think you summed it up. Sujit.
I mean, this is a huge problem. I mean, it's a universal problem in a sense, not just a lawyer problem. But as you say, Sujith, I think the fact that lawyers are so married to Outlook as their email platform of choice makes it an even greater problem for them. And then there are all the security issues and everything else that go with practicing law that further amplify the problem, I guess. So how did you? I mean, how did you kind of go about trying to figure out how you're going to solve it?
Well, I
Yeah.
think one of the things that Sujit was touching on is one of the first decisions that we made was where would we live? And Sujit kind of noted this, like a lot of lawyers still work in Outlook and Gmail
Yeah,
for most of
yeah.
their day, right? So it was a matter of, okay, well, there's some possibilities here to attack this pain point, but do we approach this as a new platform, a new tool that they can open up and have them go through there, like some of the existing email tools that we were kind of looking at the time. That didn't really work with lawyer. The last thing that lawyers and law firms need is another tab open, another tool that they have to log into, another platform that they have to, another client portal that they need to kind of deal with. They're living in Outlook. They're there hours a day. They're living in Gmail hours a day. So one of the first decisions we made was let's just meet them where they already are right in Outlook, right in Gmail. And let's not overcomplicate this. Let's leverage existing technologies like add-ons, like Outlook add-ons, like Gmail extensions, and really double down on those things. They're already there. There's really no, let's lessen all any friction or any adoption hurdles that a lawyer may experience. And these are folks that already have somewhat hesitation to add another tool or try another tool to their workforce. So that was one of the first key decisions that we made was, okay, where do we live? How does this actually land on their plate on a day-to-day basis?
And is the answer to that both Outlook and Gmail or other email applications as well? Or where do you live now that you've developed this?
Yep. Well, it's so we live in Outlook and Gmail,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what we're focusing on right now.
yep.
We started with Gmail because that was a little bit easier to enter.
Hmm.
We built that up first. Our first few customers were Gmail users, Gmail law firms, and then we moved into Outlook because we just out of necessity, the vast majority of law firms and lawyers are in Outlook, and that was just the clear path for us to go. So right now we serve those two email providers.
All right, so email is a problem. You've decided to tackle the problem. How have you addressed this? What is it that you actually do?
Awesome. I can maybe get started, Carl. So what we've noticed specifically in the legal industry is there's one email overload, right? A partner gets copied in almost every email that a legal assistant or a paralegal is sending out, and they're just like 200, 500 emails that they get every single day. And now it's a question of like, how do I prioritize? Like, which email should I get started on? Like, there is a very important client email buried in all the other emails that's in there. So that's one problem. The other problem is when you get an email, you have a lot of information that you need in various different systems. So let's say you use your case management system like Clio, MyCase, or Smogball. You have an email that's coming in, and a client is asking a question. A lot of the work has been done by your paralegal or a legal assistant or by yourself, like out of the other 100 clients. You have done some work, but in order to get that context of like what has been done, you have to now go to a case management system, dig about those information, get an understanding of it. This is what has happened over the last 5 years, and this is what we have done recently. Now let me go back and respond to that email. So that context switching into case management system, into document management system takes up a lot of time and mental energy. So that's the second problem is context switching. The third problem is actual drafting of the email. Like you have to make sure that if you're sending an email to a client, you have to dumb down so that you understand, the client understands, and it's not too much legalese. While you're responding to an opposing counsel, you have to make sure it's structured in the right way. It's concise. So there's like a lot of things that are specific to the legal industry that we identified needs to be solved in around an emails, and that was the kind of like the different product decisions that we have taken to solve each of these problems. So Carl, like if you want to talk about like what are the different features that we have to tackle this project, maybe we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things it's not just the sheer volume of emails that come in, because even if a lawyer gets one email, they still need to do all these things to answer that one email. As was pointing out, they have to go on this email scavenger hunt. I think is what I mentioned during the startup alley as one of the problems we solve. And that in of itself is like taking the lawyer out of their inbox, and they have to go through like 7 different things in order to get enough information that they need, and they go back to their inbox in order to answer that in their tone, right? So all that gets addressed with Candle, right? And we could show a demo about this, but essentially we are integrated with your inbox, Outlook or Gmail, and we're also integrated with the firm's legal tech stack. Their case management system, some legal research tools that they have, and Candle is like this intelligence layer in between. So if they get an email, Candle can instantly see if the email addresses in that thread are in their case management system or legal tech stack. And if they are, we instantly show relevant information about that client in that case right next to the email itself. So that alleviates a lot of the context switching that happens. And then we also leverage that information from their legal tech stack and case management system to draft a context aware response to the email. Right. So unlike generic AI tools like Copilot, Gemini, and others out there, our responses fetch specific things about the case and the client from the case management system. So it has richer context as well.
I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Would this be a good time to go into a demo and show us a little bit of what we're talking about here?
Absolutely. Yep. I'm going to turn off my camera here, Bob, just so that I could use on a different monitor. Do you see my screen?
Do.
All right. So this should be an Outlook page that you're seeing. So let's say that I'm a lawyer or a paralegal. And in this case, I happen to be working at an immigration law firm, right? And let's say my name is Greg. And I open up one of these emails, and it's from my client. My client's name is Carl, right? Carl is asking me some series of questions here. There's like four questions he's asking me on this email, and they're all pretty complicated, right? He's asking me about. It looks like it's an immigration matter. He's like on an H-1B. He's asking about travel and a series of questions. Now, if I get an email like this, and I used to be an immigration attorney, I would first need to know like what is going on with Carl's case, right? So I would need to step away from Outlook, go to find Carl's case in one of my case management systems, right? And see what's going on. And that takes some time. But with Candle, we connect with the firm's case management system and legal tech stack. And in this case, I'm showing Clio as a case management system that we're connected to. And Candle identifies
Do you integrate
Carl.
with most of the major systems out there?
Yes. We have several systems that we're connected with, including MyCase, Filevine. We're adding systems, almost every month, Bob. Yep. And Candle identifies Carl as a contact in Clio, and we instantly show information about Carl and all of Carl's cases right here on the side panel, right? So it's right at the lawyers or the paralegals' fingertips, right? So for instance, we know like we could show what's the next calendar event, what was the last note that was written by the lawyer about Carl's case, what are the tasks coming up, like what was the last thing that was done, what's the next thing that's coming that's going on, and this is all connected to this is all being pulled from the firm's system, and in this case Clio, like I said, right? We also have the ability to log this email back into their case management system and also bill this time, right, back into their case management system. So, I could click on time entry. Candle auto generates a time description, and it could be billed and logged just with one click back into the case management system. We can also add a note. So not only can Candle pull things from their legal tech stack and case management system and show it right here in their email, but we could also do things in the email itself and update their case management system. So for instance, like tasks, if I could click add task, the lawyer or paralegal can actually add a task right from their inbox and update it into their case management system. And I don't know if you saw that, but Candle auto-generated a task name and a task description just with this click because we're connected to the inbox, right? And and this gets updated right into the case management system that they have. So these things, these are probably saving the lawyer or paralegal 4 or 5 clicks, right? It doesn't sound much for one email, but when you're dealing with multiple emails a day, this is where the vast majority of time is being recouped, right?
Yeah.
So down here, I just wanted to show you too, we're connected not only to the case management system of a law firm, but we could also connect with their legal references. In this example, we're connected to visalaw.ai, which is a immigration legal research library, right? And right here, we have a summary that's relevant to this email itself, right? And if I click on view more details, this opens up the research information and context that's helpful to answer this specific email, right? And I see here that our AI is breaking this down to each 4 questions on this email. And as you can see here, each of these answers have citations next to it, right? And this is the power that Candle can do with our integrations is we surface all this stuff right where it's needed the most, right next to the email that they're dealing with at that moment, right?
Yeah. So that's a
Now,
separate integration that you have with VisaLaw?
that's right. Yep. But this is I'm using this as an example
Yeah, I get it.
of,
But I mean,
of
so
other
are there other kind of legal research services like that that you can also integrate uh, through
now,
Candle,
yeah,
or is that?
we're working on others, Bob, but this is the one that we have live right now.
Yeah.
Now, just to show you the other aspect here of Candle is if I click on compose, Candle instantly auto-generates a context-aware response to this email, right? And what I mean by context-aware is that we're looking at the email thread. The AI is also looking at the case management system information for this matter, for that Carl's case. And we're also looking at the legal research that we're integrated with. And all of that, we are generating an email response just with one click to this email, right? And I could tell you, as a former immigration attorney, this email itself, this would probably take me probably around 20, 25 minutes to read, research, and write a response to. And with Candle and Candle's integrations, it was just one click. And this all checks out in terms of references that you could identify. With this, you could do several things with this response. You could adjust the tone. You could make this more or less formal, empathetic, complex, just by a click of the button. And you could also refine this draft using text, using natural language. And you could pretty much say anything here, like translate this into Portuguese, and the AI will regenerate this into whatever context you add here, right? If the lawyer or paralegal or the legal team member wants to use this response, it's super simple. They simply click on this blue insert button, and it'll automatically opens up a new window with the to field already populated and simply drops this draft response here in the reply field as a draft. And here, the lawyer or paralegal can do anything they want. They could edit this more before they click send.
Could I do the same kind of a thing to say the client was writing to me just wanting, I don't know, an update on their case or what they need to do next in their case or that sort of a thing? Can I extract information out of the case management platform and just put that into an email?
Yeah, absolutely. So that in and of itself could probably be already just picked up from our insights tab here because we're pulling that information.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what did you do last? What's coming up next? And if you actually do want to change the draft itself that Candle provided, you could simply do it here, refine this draft. You could just say, just say what the next step is for this case. Don't say anything about the research, and it'll auto generate that way.
Right. But if the question was more about case status, right? Like the next email, we wouldn't talk about anything from legal research. Legal research would say just say like nothing to talk about legal in here, but it's just a pure case status question. The input is from the case management system, and what has been happening, what are the tasks that was done, what are the notes from different systems, also what has been the communication from this client, or like what has been the communication between the client and the firm. Like we look at that all of that history to kind of come up with an answer that would make sense. So it's as if a paralegal legal assistant went into all the systems, looked for the information, and then came up with a conclusion. That's what the AI would respond or create a draft response as if somebody
Hmm.
asked for a case
Okay.
status.
Okay.
And Bob, just last thing I wanted to point out is templates. We do have this area where firms can manage their email templates right here. They could add, delete, edit email templates. So the idea here is instead of doing, 3, 4, 5 clicks to find that one email template to respond to an email, everything is right here at their fingertips again. And a firm can add organizational level templates, as you can see here, ORG, which means anybody at the firm can use a template and see and use and see that template, or they could add individual templates, which only they can use it and see.
Yeah, maybe we need to also touch base upon the smart labels feature that we have recently introduced. It's it's the like one of our most recent feature updates, but has been loved by lawyers and partners, especially right because of the problem of like they get copied on a lot of these emails. So what you see on that left side that Carl is pointing to is like you see a label attached to each email. So it says candle to me or candle contact. That gives you an idea of what kind of email it is, what kind of bucket that email belongs to. So if it says candle contact, that essentially means it's coming from a client or an opposing counsel. That person is already in your case management system. And most probably it's an important email you need to respond before the end of the day. We have similar other labels like marketing, or if it's a deposition related email, we tag it as a deposition. If it's a court related update or federal agency update, we call it a filings label. So and then there is one dedicated for just scheduling, because a lot of back and forth between different parties, especially in like personal injury, there is you have to coordinate for a deposition, or you have to coordinate a meeting with a medical provider, an expert witness. All that happens through emails. So these tags gives you a sense of what kind of email it is, and depending on the role in the firm, like somebody who's like an intake specialist, somebody who is just doing scheduling, they can just filter these emails with those tags and make sure those are the most high important priority ones are taken care of before you call it a day for that day. And then hopefully you will also get to inbox zero with all other emails. But the goal here is like at least you are able to make sure you have gotten into the most important emails. And for example, like for also like partners, we have a tag called opportunity, meaning like any referrals that's coming your way or a lead that has come through your website, those are all tagged as opportunity, and you don't want to miss them, so that you grab on that opportunity as fast as possible. So that's that smart labels feature, helping law firms prioritize and categorize emails.
Yeah. Speaking of opportunities, if an email comes in, say, from a prospect who's not already in your your case management system, is there any way to add that to your system directly from within the email using Candle, or how would that happen? I mean, I get an email from somebody saying, just got a referral to you. I'm really interested in hiring you, and got an immigration. Can you do that kind of a integration with a new matter?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not sure if we have an example here, but if it's coming from an email address that's not in your case management system, we show you a button that says add to the case management system, and then it's
Okay.
like one click. We already identify the email address, we pre-populate all that information, and it's like one click easy to put that in. And once you add a contact, you also have an option to add a matter or link an existing matter. So you don't have to the goal here is to avoid context switching as much as possible. You stay in your inbox, you're in the process of reading email, do a focused work so that you don't have to jump back and forth and spend hours and hours trying to process these emails. All that happens within your inbox itself.
Okay, good. I guess one of the questions, just because you mentioned, I think Superhuman before, which is, you know, an email platform that has a number of features. But I think one of the things like that Superhuman does and some other tools out there is kind of help you prioritize a little bit within your inbox. Do you have any tools that capabilities that help you prioritize what most needs your attention in there?
Yeah, so by default, both Outlook and Gmail has a little bit of prioritization features, right? Like you have in Gmail, you have the primary inbox, you have updates, marketing, like you can have those.
Yeah.
In Outlook, you have focus and other. So we wanted to make sure that we are not building something that conflicts with what these email providers already have. I think that's an advantage Superhuman has is like they can just come up with scratch and like have a prioritization. So that's why we added these as labels that
Hmm.
helps you prioritize emails within Outlook and within Gmail, and this works on both your on mobile apps as well as on web. If you want to go through the high priority emails, whether it's an opportunity, a referral, or whether it's a client emailing you, all that is accessible to you within Outlook and Gmail without you having to, like, without us having to reinvent a new interface for prioritized emails.
That makes sense. Who do you think who are kind of your ideal target customers for this? Is there a particular size of firm or type of firm that's best suited for this?
What we have seen is law firms who use a case management system and they have some supporting staff to help them out. Like, so they're leveraging a case management system extensively is kind of the sweet spot, right? If it's a solo who might not have a case management system, they're just relying on emails, it's not very useful for them. But if you use a case management system and you get a lot of emails, that's a sweet spot. So what we have seen is like from a law firm, like it's practice agnostic. Any practice area can use it. Those who bill for the time can also add time entries. But for those contingency and flat fee law firms, they are able to increase their efficiency, throughput, and overall case load because it's freeing up a lot of the time from the staff. From a law firm size, what we have seen is small and mid-sized law firms are a sweet spot. So somewhere between 5 to 50 or 5 to 100 are the kind of law firms who are leveraging Candle to save how much more time they're otherwise spending on just emails.
Can it integrate with multiple products? I mean, what if I'm using Clio for matter management, but I also have something else I'm using for intake or something like that? What happens then?
No, exactly. That's the whole point of Candle is to be that what we call unified intelligence layer, right? So
Okay.
what we mean by that, unified as in all the different systems that you're working on is coming into this center of your email, which is where you're
Mhm.
spending 4 5 hours a day.
Right. Right.
And intelligence as in we are building a layer of intelligence on top of all this information we have access to, which is your emails where a lot of communication happens, and then we are connected to your case management, document management systems like we are adding Google Drive, SharePoint. We want to also expand into iManage, NetDocs, all the document
Hmm.
management systems and legal research tools. And like we talk about visa law, and then there's so much more legal research tools.
Hmm.
And so we are bringing all this information from multiple systems into one place, so you don't have to go into different places. Yeah, and our responses include information from all this different context. So the concept of context engineering in the context of Outlook or your emails is what we do. Like we bring that information that's scattered around in different places into your Outlook or email context where when you are trying to respond to an email.
That's the context switching that Carl was talking about.
Exactly.
How do you charge for all this?
So right now it's a very simple pricing structure, right? Like we just charge $59 per user per month, no annual contract, and that's also a factor of like what kind of customers we have. There are small law firms they want to try out the product. Everyone get a 2 weeks pilot or a trial, where they get to experience the product before they make a decision. What we have seen is 93% of customers who are on a pilot convert into a paid customer, and that's a number that's so interesting and mind-boggling that people are just hooked within a week or two into using the product. We are seeing more than an hour a day spent on Candle by each user who is using the product. And I'm sure, Carl, you probably have other statistics you want to share here about how sticky the product is and the usage of it as is.
No, no, I think the conversion rate speaks to the fact that it's a big problem, Bob, and people are eager, firms are eager to experience a solution to this problem. Like everybody hates email. Like nobody loves going through their email, and you know, people have when we get folks on a demo, they have usually already tried several tools to try to
Mhm.
fix the problem. Superhuman, Fixer, Copilot. Like we have
Yeah.
these conversations with them,
Yeah.
and then they come to us, and then we show them our solution, how it's purposely built for them, for legal folks, for legal teams, and we haven't had like a hard no on a demo. Everybody wants to like kick the tires on it, and when they kick the tires on it, we get them on a pilot. They usually convert, like Sujith was saying. I think it's also a chance for us too to learn if there's anything in the product that we should add during the pilot. So it's really a kind of both sides learn. They
Mhm.
kick tires on our product, but we also get feedback from them. Hey, for personal injury firms, you guys should have this. Like personal injury firms would love these fields. You guys don't have it. You guys need to build it. And so the pilot period is also a good time for us to measure up the product.
Yeah.
But
What have you learned from those conversations? What's coming down the pike that you don't have in there yet?
several things.
I can add something. It's I think the last few months particularly has been very interesting in legal, right? Like the Claude for Legal webinar just was a storm, and lawyers are really hungry for AI. They want to have MCPs. They want to see like all Claude fancy things, which we honestly thought it's kind of legal tech is slow and it's going to take time for lawyers to adopt. But what we are seeing is there's like this top 10% of lawyers who are already adopting Claude and they are familiar with the concepts of MCP and connecting to different systems. So that the functionality of being an agentic system is something that we are seeing a lot of demand for, and we expect that to only increase as people are getting more familiar with Claude. So that's something that we want to add, and the rise and the other I think the on the other side we are seeing the rise of AI native law firms who they are not even fully owned by lawyers, like alternate business systems where like sometimes on the hem is like a tech guy, and then they're trying to see like how can this be like fully reinvented the legal service industry itself. And what that means, like I think this will converge into AI native law firms. Like you either build it in house or you want to have softwares that help you be an AI native law firm. And I think we are in a position really to ride that wave, and we are seeing that with just the sheer amount of demand that we are seeing, especially after the ABA Tech Show, where there was a lot of buzz around like what we do, and people came to know about it. They want to like see the demo, and then they want to use it, and then they actually convert to a paid customer. So yeah, that's a long answer to like what we are seeing when we have these conversations with law firms, especially small law firms and the partners.
Well, we've only got a minute or so left before we have to wrap this up, but anything else that you wanted viewers to know that we haven't covered?
You don't have to hate your emails. What?
I ate my email.
Yeah. So what we have seen is now people are able to cut down the time they are spending on emails, while they are also increasing the amount of billable hours they are capturing from emails, both by using Candle. So you are just getting, like two in one shot, where it increases your revenue as a law firm, while you are also able to scale with the existing number of staff you have, because now each staff can handle a lot more cases by being more efficient. So like one lawyer said yesterday, this is a no-brainer. He just purchased a full annual contract, and I would encourage everybody to just rethink emails as from like a pain that they have to deal with to think of it as a revenue source, it as a leverage that you can have to just make your law firm a lot more efficient, especially in this age of AI, where the competition is not just hiring more people. It's also like how do you leverage AI to stay competitive?
Yeah, that's an important point. Yep. Well, this is, I think you're really going a long way towards solving a real problem for lawyers and, as you point out, for clients as well. And I saw the reaction at AVA Tech Show, so I can attest to the fact that this does generate buzz when lawyers see it. They're very interested in it. So I'm glad we were able to get this demo and learn a lot more about it today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Always a lot of fun to interact with, just having fun conversations with you. Looking forward to seeing you around in other conference circuits and just keeping up this relationship going.
Same here. And as soon as you come up with a version for legal tech journalists, let me know. Manage my inbox. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Great to see you guys.
All right.
And thanks to everybody out there for watching today.